We are Southeastern 16, back talking SEC football as spring practice is wrapped up. The spring portal window is closed, and so now we're really diving into what these teams could look like in 2025. We're going to talk some LSU Tigers today. Matt Moscona joins us. He is with 104.5 ESPN down in Baton Rouge and Locked On LSU. But Matt, how are things going down there?
Hey, Chase, good to talk to you, man. Hey, sun shining, a Jazz Fest, Pearl Jam this weekend. It's a great time. It's crawfish boils. It's a great time of year. It's that baseball teams winning. Great time to be in Louisiana.
So what would you say after spring practice, only one player leaving in the transfer portal in that spring window? What would you say the vibe is around the program after 24, getting ready to head into 25? What's the vibe around the LSU Tigers football program?
Yeah, legitimate expectation, not hopeful expectation, legitimate championship expectation. And Chase, a year ago, Brian Kelly sort of famously said, we're not in the business of buying players. And that soundbite without context went everywhere. Well, now they're in the business of buying players. They went out and signed either the number 1 or 2 portal class in the country, depending on which service you look at. And they fortified their roster at every level on both offense and defense. I mean, Chase, they effectively did this year what Ohio State and Ole Miss did a year ago to build their rosters via the portal. So what's the vibe? Everyone is expecting this to be a playoff team. And if they're not, it is a giant glaring alarm about what the ceiling is for this program with this staff.
Was that just kind of the staff saying, okay, here's what we need to be competitive. Here's what we need to be a playoff team. Is that what kind of led them to go get the players they did out of the portal?
Yeah, I think, this whole NIL portal era has kind of been an evolution, right? You go in with an idea of what you think it's going to take to build a team or a roster. And then based on the results, you continue to evolve. Like when Brian Kelly was hired, for example, he inherited a roster that had 38 scholarship players. From Ed Ogeron. So they had to go heavy in the portal just to fortify numbers. Well, Kelly has always said that he wanted to build through the high school ranks and supplement with the portal. And so they had done that each of the next 2 years, reducing the number of portal players they took. But Chase, the problem is the 2024 LSU roster, they spent about $5.5 million on that roster. I mean, when you compare that to the top of the league in the country spending close to $20 million, you're not competitive. And that's why you end up 8-4. You were really good in some spots, but not nearly good enough to compete at a championship, a national championship level. And so they evolved. And so I'll give Brian Kelly credit for that, man. He has been willing to evolve in this era the more the sample size grows of what you need. And what they needed was to be more aggressive in the transfer portal to get immediate impact players at position, not just bodies, immediate impact players at positions of need.
Garrett Nusmire was a big topic of conversation going into last season. You look at a lot of these SEC quarterback lists in the offseason. He was number 1 on mine. He's number 1 on a lot of people's list. What did you see from him as far as like improvements in 2024? And what is Garrett Nusmire looking to do in 25?
I think it was more just proof of concept. Like, before last year, the standard answer I gave to everybody when they asked about Nuss, I said, look, if you went to Central Casting and you made a quarterback, it would look like that. 6'2", big arm, can make every throw, son of a coach, tons of moxie, high football IQ. The one thing about Nuss was sometimes the decision-making was off. Saw it against A&M this year. LSU's got a 2-score lead. They're on the road at Kyle Field. They're dominating the game. They got a 3rd down. Nuss is being flushed toward the sideline. Instead of running out of bounds or throwing it away, throws it back toward the middle of the field. Pick. 2 plays later, A&M's in the end zone, and they had 3 turnovers in that second half, which cost them the game. He needs to purge that. Everything. Look, Chase, you mentioned the preseason list. I don't know if everybody realizes this. Garrett Nusmire is the leading returning passer in college football. He's the only passer that threw for 4,000 yards last year that's back. So, yeah, he should be at the top of everybody's list. I mean, I get people are excited about DJ Lagway and the ceiling there, and maybe if Lenore Sellers takes another step as a passer. But I mean, Garrett's a 5th-year player who came off a season where he threw for 4,000 yards. You're seeing him way too early mock drafts that have him early round 1. All that's justified. Now he's going to go play it out this season. but all the praise is justified, and he'll have a really, really talented roster around him to lead this year.
Yeah, I wanted to go to wide receivers next. I was really impressed with some of the guys that from that transfer portal class, Barry Brown, Nick Anderson, some of these guys they've added to the receiver room. Talk about kind of the enhancements there to go along, with a great quarterback in Nusmire.
What's interesting is they did they added Destin Hill as well from Florida State, who was really impressive in spring. They added 3 receivers, but they returned Aaron Anderson, who is their leading receiver. They returned Chris Hilton, who when he finally got healthy was explosive at the end of the year. They returned Xavier Thomas. They returned Kyle Parker, who was explosive at times, but battled an injury that cost him most of last year. They got a ton of dudes back, and then they went and added Barry Brown and Nick Anderson and Destin Hill. Not a receiver, but maybe the one that's the most impactful is actually Bauer Sharp, who's the tight end from Oklahoma, just because of how much Brian Kelly's offense is focused on the tight end. And you lose Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor leaves LSU as the all-time leading pass catcher among tight ends, receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns, all of it. So you're replacing not only a great player, but a great player at a focal point position, and you're bringing in a guy in Bauer Sharp who basically is carbon copy, cut paste. So Sharp is probably the guy that among the pass catchers coming in that may be the most impactful.
The defense in 2024 was worlds better than it was in 2023.
That's not hard to do.
What do we see as far as post-spring, everything? Like, what do we see on the defensive side of the ball heading into 2025?
Yeah, so for those that don't remember, in 2023, LSU had a Heisman-winning quarterback on a 3-loss team because they couldn't stop anybody. It was literally the worst defense in the history of LSU football statistically, which is a mouthful. Blake Baker came in, and they went from 108 nationally to top 60. So you're right, world's better, but still not nearly where you need to be. That was evidenced during the Alabama game. They went in the portal, and, man, they added impact guys at every level. They added 3 defensive ends, all of whom are proven big-time starters. Harold Perkins is coming back off of injury. He's going to move to the star position. They added Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech, who is immediately the best cornerback on this team. They added a safety from NC State, which, as bad as they were on defense at times, safety was the Achilles heel. It was the worst spot on the defense. And Tamarcus Cooley is a plug-and-play starter. I mean, they were very intentional, Chase. They went and added impact guys at every single level of the defense that are immediate, not just bodies, like immediate impact guys. So there's going to be a lot of new names, a lot of one-year mercenaries, but the talent level is going to be night and day from a year ago. Now, the onus is on Blake Baker now to take all these new pieces and make them all work together within the confines of his defense. But you do have a lot of veteran dudes that are older players that are here because, yes, they got paid, but they want to win. And it's kind of like their money year in the NFL, right? It's like your free agent year. So they all need to go put on for the draft. So they're motivated to do it as well. Early returns have been good, but, man, they... Can you tell the crux of this conversation, man? LSU went and spent in the transfer portal. They added they are a talented team, man. I mean, this will be the most talented team Brian Kelly's had. If they're not in the playoff, it is that is hard. That will be hard to wrap your brain around if this team is not a college football playoff team.
On sticking with defense, is there a position group on that side of the ball where you would say, okay, this is where the strength on defense will lie in this position group for the Tigers?
Probably defensive end. And look, you're losing your top 2 guys in Savion Jones and Braden Swinson, but they went and added Jack Pyburn from Florida. They added Jamari Butler, who's a super senior from Nebraska. The big one was Patrick Payton that they added from Florida State, who's got 30-some-odd career TFLs and 16 and a half sacks. I mean, he was the best edge rusher in the portal. I mean, they went and got all 3 of those guys. So they Blake Baker's defense, he says it all the time, he focuses on chaos. He wants to create those havoc plays, havoc rate. It may not statistically look great at the end of a game where you're looking at total yards, but that's not so much what he's interested in. He's interested in havoc. How do you create the third down strip sack? The 3rd and 12 sack for a loss of 12, and you flip the field. And they went and got guys that'll impact that for sure.
Special teams wise, what's LSU look like?
Okay, now this is a good one because this is still a real question. And it's been a giant talking point here since Brian Kelly has shown up because he refuses to hire a special teams coordinator. So he keeps just trying to piecemeal it together using different assistants, and it's not been good. Damian Ramos is back as the place kicker, and he's really good. Punter is a giant question. I think their special teams efficiency rating last year was maybe somewhere in the 70s. They had Grant Shadwick, a punter from Middle Tennessee, from the transfer portal. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro, they went and at it. They had a need. They went and got a dude in the portal this year, man. They went and bought them a roster. So that's one. You got a new long snapper coming in after Slade Roy was gone as your 3-year starter at long snapper. So you got some turnover there, and you still don't have a special teams coordinator. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But you mentioned earlier Barry and Brown, who was an All-American return specialist at Kentucky. So he'll likely fit in either as the kick or punt returner immediately, along with guys like Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas. But that is a question. That's a giant question mark to see how much better they can be this year from a year ago.
And I know a lot of additions in the portal, like we've been talking about. Do the coaches like the depth that they have overall on the team?
You say the coaching staff or the roster?
Yeah, the coach, like the roster, just from what you heard in spring. Like, do they like the amount of depth they have?
Yeah, I think they're going to have really good depth because LSU's got back-to-back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes, and sort of what's happened as a byproduct of going to the portal is all those guys they've recruited now kind of become quality depth. I'll give you an example, a guy like PJ Woodland. I don't expect anybody to know that name, but PJ came in as a cornerback last year as a freshman and played rotationally. Well, he would likely have a much bigger role this year, but for the fact that you added Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech, you added Jakeem Jackson from Florida, you brought in DJ Pickett, 5-star number 1 cornerback in the country, and you return Ashton Stamps, who was one of your starters a year ago. So that means PJ Woodland at best is your 5th cornerback. So yeah, they've got depth, and I think, Chase, as you rightly said as we started, they had one primary player enter the portal. Now John Emery and Javen Nicholas also entered, but so really the total number is 3. But you just didn't have guys leave. You had guys who I guess bought into the idea that they're willing to wait, which is kind of uncommon. But I think they look around and go, man, this team could actually win a championship, and LSU's paying everybody on the roster. So even if you're going to be a backup this year, you're still going to get paid, and you have a chance to win a championship. So a lot of these guys stayed. So yeah, I mean, Chase, listen, I'm not the sunshine pumper, man. I'm not the guy that toes the company line and just tells you all the good things. And Lord knows I've had my criticisms of Brian Kelly during his time in Baton Rouge. But this really is a roster that is they went and bought one of the best rosters in the country. And they're one of the best rosters in the country, and they should be a playoff team. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to win. I mean, look at Oregon's a great example. Oregon was undefeated. They got a crappy draw, unfortunately. Ohio State got another swing at them and beat them. Ohio State's a great example. They won the national championship, lost 2 games. They lost to a 500 Michigan team. So I'm not saying LSU's going undefeated. I'm not telling you they're going to win the national championship. What I'm telling you is, if 10-2 in the SEC gets you in the playoff, if this team is not a college football playoff team, it is a massive failure.
Before I let you go, I want to ask about the opener. Clemson is who LSU opens with this year. And look, LSU has not had great luck at openers the last couple of years. How important to you do you think that opener with Clemson is going to be to set the tone for, again, what could be a really exciting season?
So there's 2 parts of this answer. And LSU has lost 5 consecutive openers. The last team to win the opener was the 2019 national championship team. That's a big yo, and people here are sick of starting 0-1. But that Clemson game is at Clemson. That's not a neutral site. So they got to go to Clemson with Cade Klubnik back for his 5th year and all that stuff as well. It's big from a psychological standpoint, right? Because you've lost 5 in a row and people are sick of losing them. It also, if you lose that game, it doesn't preclude you from anything. Like we just talked about, you can go 10-2, but what it does is reduces your margin for error. So if LSU loses to Clemson, and you got to get to 10-2, that means you only got 1 game to play with the rest of the year. You can only stub your toe once in a very, very tough SEC. So winning that opener would be massive, not only for the psychology of the fan base that's sick of losing openers, but also to keep your margin right for error alive once you get into conference play.
Really good stuff. Matt Moscona joining us talking LSU football. And Matt, appreciate your time and looking forward to what could be for the Tigers in 2025. But we'll catch you up with you again soon. Thanks for doing this today.
My pleasure.
Southeastern 16, we got you covered. SEC football, basketball, baseball year-round. Subscribe, like this video, share it with your LSU friends, and we will see you soon with more of Southeastern 16.